Let's do it.
Connecting. Stream is coming up.
Pre-show.
Boy, I really like the what do you call it? The Wi-Fi here at AMS. They did do a good job.
Oh, good. I thought you might have been going the other way because track Wi-Fi is sometimes funny, no matter where you're at.
You know what? It's working really well. Well, and we're the only people here, I get. Well, there's some folks in a couple
radio
booths
guys.
over. Yeah, radio guys or I guess race control is 2 booths over, and then people who are actually doing over-the-air radio next to us, and then us 2 scrubs over here.
Got it.
It's funny. Last time we were here, because we're looking through a small press box into race control, which is, I guess, typically where they do TV from as well.
Yep.
It's just funny because they're all looking over at us going, what are these idiots doing here?
Yeah.
There's Jensen. So in the Pro Legends division here, they actually broadcast it on local radio.
That's pretty cool. Do y'all do any Legends at Chicago?
No, we don't. We don't have the little infield track or whatever like Atlanta does, and we've got a dirt track. So you probably heard about the dirt track race that was going on. So we don't do Legends, but we do a bunch of dirt track events, and we get the drag strip too.
Ah, awesome,
cool. Where is the dirt track in proximity to the big oval?
Right across the street. So you've got on one side of Schweitzer Road. On the left, if you're driving towards it, it's Chicagoland Speedway, and on the right is Route 66 Raceway, which is the drag strip the NHRA was at a month ago. And then right in that same complex where the drag strip is the dirt oval at 66. And on Saturday night they had the Summer Slash with Tony Stewart, as they called it, and Stewart was racing, and a couple of big names were racing in the Arctic Cat series, I think.
Oh, cool.
And Dave Blaney finished second over there. So Ryan was over there helping him out and stuff. It was kind of cool. I went over there for a little bit before my body couldn't take it anymore. After a couple long days of NASCAR events.
Yeah. Our driver's out there, Sherwin. You see him?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I pointed at him.
Oh, cool.
I even said it out loud. But you were deep into what you were working on.
I got all this IT crap to do. So, for those of you who are joined on the live stream, looks like just a few. We usually do this thing in 2 hours from now, so it's a bit early for everybody. So they'll probably catch it on the replay here. But for the folks who are on, we'll hang out. But, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, as you can tell with the difference in our background here, and Jensen Jorgensen is pulling off the track right now. Looks like he was second fastest in that practice. I know his daddies and him have been working on that car too. So, we'll talk about it when we get there. But I guess with that, Sherwin, we probably ought to get moving on this show. What do you think?
Yes.
All right. Brandon, you ready to roll?
Ready to rock.
All right. And let me make sure I've got music to play. I do. All right. Then with that, we'll start recording now. Welcome, y'all. That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Air Racing Podcast, episode number 154. It's Thursday, July 5th, 2018. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace. I'm not in the PTM podcast studio. I'm at Atlanta Motor Speedway with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherman. What's up, dude?
Well, there's race cars right down on the track below us. I couldn't think of a better place to do a podcast than at a racetrack inside an air-conditioned booth with local short track racing.
Yeah, and
hence the more short track shirt.
It's like 90 degrees outside. Y'all can tell we've got a different background behind us. But yeah, the racing going on right here. This is so cool. So cool of Atlanta Motor Speedway to have us come up. But we do have a special guest tonight, too. But before we get to him, this show is sponsored by you. That's right. You go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What You Drinking Club for as little as $1 a month. and get that free koozie. The best part is every cent in 2018, we're donating to sponsoring drivers like Jensen Jorgensen, who's out on the track just a moment ago. Join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show is brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. That's Laura Henshaw, Mick Rose, Aaron Beaton, Robert Keplinger, Tony Salt, Cody McClam, Eric Kepner, Ryan Keeper, Marion the Best, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brendan Crowd, Kathleen McDonald, Stacey Wright, Brendan Carl, Billy Workman, Rika Porter, Jumpy Bob, Les Miller, Jason Rudd, Tommy Witt, Mark Wiley, and Julie Bosley.
Wow.
Woo!
I'm glad you do that, not me.
I think we say that a lot too.
I definitely say it a lot.
Which is funny. But with that, Sherwin, let's bring on our very special guest at our very special location here. Well, he's in his location, but we're in a special location. We got a special guest tonight. I want to welcome to the show the digital marketing manager at Chicagoland Speedway. You can follow him on Twitter at Brandon Brown WV and at Chicagoland Speedway. I'll just look that one up. There's like abbreviations and stuff. But it's Brandon Brown. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Great to be talking to you tonight.
Oh man, we're super excited, and it's a couple hours early. You know, it's lighter outside than normal. So, our first segment here. What you drinking tonight?
Oh well, I'm still in the office. Just to let you all know, so
Okay.
we didn't just take the week off after the race is over. There's a bunch of stuff still to do. So I just need to keep hydrated because I did have a couple beers on Sunday night after that awesome race. So I got a little H2O in my Chicagoland Speedway gel.
I was going to say I really like the branding. I mean, that's totally NASCAR right there. I've got a Chicagoland Speedway water right here that enjoying. Sherwin, how about yourself?
I have water. It's disappointing.
You get Sherwin away from beer, and I mean, he just Eeyores.
Whoa, whoa.
Woe is me. Is that wasp on the inside or outside of that window?
Inside, I believe.
Okay, well, we'll just keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
And I as well have a fresh water here. I would say ice-cold water, but it was sitting in my truck for a while, so we'll get going on that. With that, Brandon, so like we said, Chicagoland Speedway with our races just this past weekend. Pretty busy weekend for you, I imagine. I mean, ARCA trucks, Xfinity Cup. How do you keep yourself sane through all that?
It's really hard. It's been we've done that a few times, but usually it's in September when it's kind of cool. It was hot this past weekend. I think the Saturday heat index was 114, the hottest place in Illinois. So we kept hydrated like I'm doing right now, but it's tough because you're pulling 16, maybe 18-hour days for 4 straight days in that heat. So it was tough for our whole staff. We had a bunch of people out there doing a lot more difficult jobs than mine, which basically was taking pictures and videos and tweeting all day.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of people doing a lot of difficult stuff, but we pulled it out, and it was a whole lot of fun, especially on the track.
Absolutely. What's your weekend schedule like? What as the social media manager, what are you doing? What are you walking to? What are you looking for as you're walking around, and the types of things you're looking to tweet out?
Okay, so we have a full weekend schedule with on track, but we with our Stars and Stripes weekend as we dubbed it, we had a lot of military activation out in Champions Park. Which, if you don't know what Champions Park is at our track, out in the Midway, we have this big park-like atmosphere with all of our winners have a monument out there. All of our IndyCar winners and all of our Cup Series NASCAR winners.
That's cool.
Which is pretty awesome. So out there are all our displays. So highlighting all that stuff. We had a wakeboard pool out there. We're highlighting all that. So just finding time within the on-track schedule to showcase, what we have going on all weekend. And the biggest part with that is, not only are we posting on Twitter what's happening, but we're also gathering content to showcase for the whole next year because, people probably already made the decision. I'm coming to the race or I'm not coming to the race. So we want to capture all the awesome stuff out there so we can market it, video, everything for the entire next year. So I had 4 awesome. Just think about that. It takes 4 people to do successful social media over an entire race weekend. We had 4 people doing social media, hitting every single base, and I don't think we missed anything.
That's impressive.
I wouldn't have thought that it would take that many, but I don't know. When I'm trying to do all the promo stuff for us, it gets a little hectic. Like,
right.
You got to remember to do this. You got to remember to do that. Like, what what sort of picture could I attach to this to make it more attractive? And tweets roll down your feed so quickly. You have to tweet really often to get it out there.
Yeah. And then, I mean, on top of that, I agree, Sherwin. It's like, wow, it takes 4 people. And then you start thinking, you're like, well, yeah, all that stuff, it probably take – I'm surprised you can do it with 4 people. I imagine it's pretty hectic.
Yeah, we had one person. Can I name drop them if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So we had this is like the end of a band set where the lead singer talks about the band that just played. But we had Alex Guglielmucci on video. He was out capturing tons of content. My good friend Kristen Pratt, she was highlighting all the military stuff because her dad was a retired Marine. And we had Allison Piet, who was my counterpart at Kansas. She was highlighting all the fan content while I was mostly in the track talking about everything that was going on the track.
Okay.
So which was cool because Allison came in for our weekend, and I'm going to Kansas to help her out. So it was kind of a nice little ISC switcheroo.
I like it. That
Yeah,
sounds
it was
fun.
cool.
So this was fun in the pre-show here. We were talking about with us being here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway at the track right here, and the Legends cars going on. And y'all don't have the bull ring at Chicago, but just across the street there's a pretty intriguing track. It sounds like. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we have across the street we have the Route 66 Raceway Complex, which holds the NHRA drag strip, which we just had the Route 66 Nationals last month. And then on Saturday night we had the Dirt Oval at 66, which the Summer Slash with Tony Stewart was at, and I think they had well, I was there, so I know they had tons of sprint cars there putting on a hell of a good show. And Tony Stewart raced, and Dave Blaney was over there, and he started 21st in the feature and came from 21st to 2nd, and I think it was a 30-lapper.
Wow.
Buckeye Bullet.
Wow.
Buckeye Bullet, and his son was over there helping with the crew too. So props to Ryan Blaney on that before he got in his car on Sunday.
That's like Roots Racing, just right across the street, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. They've got we got demolition derbies and all sorts of stuff over there throughout the year, and it was really cool to kind of mesh that up with all the good the good momentum that sprint car racing and dirt racing has now to kind of marry that. And I think our fans were really excited to get the best of both worlds. I went over there for a little bit too to just watch, and it was just a whole lot of fun the entire weekend, especially with the 3 NASCAR races in the ARCA event.
So any funny stories from the weekend? What's your best funny story that happened to you? Something unexpected.
Let's see, funny stories. It wasn't so funny, but we had to move Victory Lane into the garage area, so. Everybody and that just happened with 5 laps to go in the event. So you saw behind me, I was out on the track, but behind me I could see everything. So you saw everyone picking up literally everything that was in Victory Lane and sprinting over to the turn 1 garage through the fence. And it was organized chaos, and we pulled it off pretty well. But yeah, that was pretty funny to witness as I'm standing there watching and live tweeting the race, seeing if Kyle Larson's going to catch Kyle Busch or not.
Yeah. While trying to do that, talk about patting your head and rubbing your tummy.
Yeah,
right?
a little bit of a distraction.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Sherwin, that leads us into the report card.
Uh-oh.
We'll go ahead and get her started here. We've been avoiding the topic, the elephant in the room, the good elephant.
The good elephant.
Yeah, the good elephant in the room. The way I put it on here, Kyle Busch says, if you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch. I don't think there's a whole lot of people who would disagree with him on that. Give us the first word on that one, Brandon.
I completely agree. This is hard for me to say, but I completely agree with Kyle Busch on that one. If you sat in those stands and you came out of that race and you had something wrong with the product on the track, then you just I can't help you. There's nothing I can do to change your mind on that one because I'm a little biased, but that was one of the greatest front to back races that I've seen, and I might preface this with saying I've watched every NASCAR race since 1993. I don't know if that's pathetic or impressive, but That was one of the best intermediate track races I think I've ever seen, and then one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history. So if you don't like it, I can't help you.
What was the vibe like after the race? How are folks, walking out saying?
All right, this is I got a funny story for you after
Okay.
after I tell you this. You reminded me of a good funny story. So the vibe was awesome. I mean, to see Kyle Busch come around and park that thing right on the start finish line, and for him to jump out, and before he says a word, the entire grandstand, save for the people who are wearing M&Ms and Skittles stuff, to just rain down booze on him. You got to love that, because that means that people, one, knew exactly what happened, and two, they have passion for the sport one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So that was such a great vibe, especially.
Messed up the recording there.
Oh, well, what'd you do that for?
Oh, yeah, I know it, right? All right, here goes.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
All right, y'all. Sorry about that. We got him back. Brandon's back with us. You were in the middle of telling us how awesome the booze that rained down were.
Okay, so to kind of condense that, for them to have sat in the hot 100-degree heat all day long,
Mm-hmm.
for them to watch that entire race, and for him to park that car on the start-finish line, and for them to actually boo him, you have to absolutely love that, because they knew what was going on. They could show their passion for the racing. They enjoyed the product on the racetrack, and they had the energy to still do that. That's a huge win. That's a lot of good vibes coming out of that race.
Yeah. So you said remind you had a story to tell that was funny.
Yeah. So my coworker Lauren, she had her dad come to his very first NASCAR race on Sunday. And he didn't know anything about racing. He came with a good buddy of his who was a big racing fan.
Heck of a race.
So heck of a race to get your first NASCAR race in. So she asked him, Dad, do you know anything about racing? And all he said was, I know this guy, he drives a Skittles car. So she bought him as a gag gift one of those really big, obnoxious rich shirts with Kyle Busch plastered all over the front and back of it. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Yeah, the big, like the old school looking Chase Authentic shirt, but they still sell them today. So he watches the race. He wears this shirt to the racetrack, and he calls her, not knowing exactly why what's happening to him is happening, but he calls her right after the race, and he goes, Lauren, I think I'm about to get beaten up. I got people cussing at me, and I don't know why.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man. Yeah. I don't even care. It's just a funny shirt. Who cares? Oh, man.
That just shows the passion of NASCAR fans, and that's one of the reasons that I have fallen in love with the sport and can continue to just love it to death.
So Kristen Pratt, at Pratt_Kristen, thank you for the question, Kristen. She says that Gluck called the Overton's 400 a "this is why we watch" race. And she's saying magic moments are rare in any sport, of course, but what lessons can NASCAR teams, drivers, sponsors, and fans take away from your race and apply to future ones to make some more why we watch moments? Sherwin, it's that's hard for me to answer. How do you make more moments like that? I mean, I think we ask ourselves that, pretty often, and it's that perfect combination of everything being right. Larson being that fast, but not quite as fast, or as Kyle, or deciding to make a move or something. And if they had wrecked out or something, everybody'd be, I guess, more upset. But I don't know.
Yeah, because if they'd have both wrecked, Harvick would have won.
Yeah. So I don't know, Sherwin.
I don't think there is a recipe, because I think if you go hunting for the recipe, you're going to over sensationalize and cage. If you're looking, we don't need to see that restrictor plate stuff every week. We've been talking about that.
Yep.
And they're trying to create that moment that way. And I think they shoot themselves in the foot sometimes with making all these different rules in an effort to find that magic moment. I think you just got to let it happen.
Yeah. And we've said, and everybody says it before, every race can't be the be all end all. Holy crap! Otherwise, like you said, they try to manufacture that. Might as well make a 20-lap race where they start four wide and go backwards.
Right.
Now it just becomes silly stuff. But Brandon, love to hear your perspective.
Yeah. I kind of echo what you guys said. As in you can't over manufacture anything. I mean, I think I'll be the first to tell you that after the Charlotte All-Star race, I was like, oh, okay, well, why don't they just run it here? They'll all be running side by side for 400 very slow miles. But then you kind of step back and you realize that you shouldn't manufacture excitement. Like the biggest thing that you could do is be real. I think the NBC has such an opportunity to not sensationalize, but just be very authentic. I think even if you look back in the day, I always point to the CBS broadcasts and the ESPN broadcasts. CBS with Ken Squire and Ned Jarrett and Buddy Baker, and ESPN with Benny and Ned and Bob Jenkins. They could make the most boring on-track race feel like the most important thing in the entire world.
Yes.
And I think NBC is really trying to do that. They happen to get a great race at Chicagoland, which I'm really excited about. But I think with what they can bring to the table with Dale Jr., they can really make everything seem very real and not rehearsed and authentic. And you can't overstate the emotion that Dale Jr. showed in the booth. He's a racing fan, and once he gets more polished in calling these races, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dale Jr. is the best storyteller that NASCAR has right now.
I think so.
By a long shot.
Yeah, I feel like his role is going to grow into where he is the Marty Smith of NBC.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, well, they talk very similar.
If NBC can even keep him.
Right.
And I mean, Marty, I feel bad that Marty's not on the NASCAR broadcasts anymore, because I absolutely loved it, reading his stuff and watching his stuff, and I miss him every week.
I do too. There is a selfish bit. I've talked about it before, where it's like, man, I wish he hadn't got so good. He'd have been on NASCAR for a lot longer. But it's great for him, and it's great for the exposure that everybody else gets to have with all his stuff. I think we talked about him last week. Sure,
we probably did.
About him riding horses with
Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, Jimbo Fisher.
Right.
Yeah, that's wild. We've already mentioned this one a couple times. You mentioned it. We'll move on to second period here. It was a hot one. 140 degrees in the cars. 113, 114 on track. Sherwin, let's start with you on this one. How much? Obviously the physical toll that it takes on the drivers is enormous. What is that doing to the cars and the track? And did that help lead to what we saw, or is this just kind of, it's just hot?
Well, no, I think it definitely helps. The drivers that drove the Xfinity cars probably wouldn't agree with that, but for some reason there's just not nearly as much air that can get in those cars the way they're shaped. But what the hot worn surface does at a place like Chicagoland is allow the driver to pick wherever he wants to race. And there's comers and goers because the tires burn off. Mm-hmm. And that's what allowed Kyle Larson to catch Kyle Busch. And if he'd had one more lap, he probably wouldn't have had to try the slide job.
Right. And watching him, it was so cool. For me, it's the parts where he's supposed to be a little slower, he was a little slower taking that high line. So, going into the turn, he's losing some ground. And then they come back, and every time they would come back together, that distance was just a little bit shorter, back when they were coming back across the start-finish. And that was that, we've done it right here where we're sitting, well, not in the booth here, but how many times have we thrown out the fishing line here at Atlanta Motor Speedway and seen that happen? So a lot of fishing line stories with that. Talk to us about the heat, Brandon.
Oh, baby. I was sitting out on pit road during the Xfinity race, which was the hottest day of the 4 days we had. And I thought, because I was it was under caution and I was just had to take a breath. And I thought to myself, I have been hot before. I've played, high school baseball out in the middle of summer and it being 100 degrees out. I've been hot, but I've never, ever, ever been that hot in my entire life.
Wow.
It was absolutely it was brutal, and I can all the fans that sat out in that I couldn't thank them enough for buying a ticket and coming, because they are troopers, and they got every single day they got rewarded. But it was as hot as I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah.
We've been
114. Think of that with the humidity.
What's the hottest we've been at a racetrack? I think
it's been
like
around
March.
Not March, been in Labor Day.
Labor Day race. Yeah.
We would.
Oh my gosh.
Where we camped just didn't get any airflow, and we would be sitting under the tarp, not even wanting to drink beer. It's so dang hot.
Yeah, think about that, y'all.
Yeah, that's what I. Yeah, just see what I said there.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on one more thing. Since we are at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the finish of that race, the first thought I had was, that's the best intermediate race that we've seen since that Tuesday race that ran here, where Jimmy and Jeff would look like were the only two cars on the track, and really put on a similar show. I think that's been about 10 years.
It's been a while. It's been a minute, as it turns out.
I always think I'm like, oh yeah, that race happened in 1994, 10 years ago. But then it's like, oh wow, that was 24 years ago. Holy crap!
When me and Sherwin have recently started talking about things that we've done in like the 15-year blocks. Oh yeah, I remember 15 years ago, blah blah, and we're going, oh man, we shouldn't be calculating stuff in 15 years blocks, or like when you're an adult 20 years ago. Oh, that's not
What
good.
movie turned 25 this year that I was like, no.
I don't know if I want to think about it.
It was like Forrest Gump, I think.
That might be. Yeah.
No, it was a Sandlot, because Sandlot came out in 1993, and they're having that big tour.
That's right.
Okay. Wow.
That's right.
25 years from Sandlot. You know what? I almost believe that one. That one feels like it's a little older. I don't know. But, yeah.
I don't like milestones with that many year gaps in them.
That I remember.
All of it.
Like I said, as an adult, I remember that. I wasn't an adult in 93, but point is still there. All right, third period. Dale Jr., we already talked about him. It's his first official day on the job. Let's give him a grade. I guess I'll start. I didn't know. So Sherwin, he was the color guy, not the color guy. He was the what do we call ourselves? Like play-by-play is what he was. He was doing a ton of play-by-play stuff, which I was surprised at, and I thought it was really good. But hearing his voice for that long a time, I didn't know we would hear it and talk that much. So I was encouraged.
Well, the other interesting thing they did that I don't think was very obvious to us until after the fact was they actually had two different booths. So they paired up. So Jeff and God, what's the guy that does the main call?
Rick Allen.
Yes. Golly. Just tripped all over that, didn't I? So Jeff and Rick Allen were in one booth, and Stevie and Junior were in another completely separate booth. But they could see each other through the glass.
Okay.
And I think the whole idea there was that Junior would be the most comfortable with just Stevie.
Okay, that makes sense.
They had such a good relationship, and they thought that might help bring Dale Jr. out of himself. Bring out as much Dale as they can get. Well, I think you're gonna get as much Dale as you want, and maybe more than you want, maybe not enough, but we're gonna get a lot of Dale, and that's just how they kicked it off. What a heck of a race for him to do his first,
no kidding.
I mean, it's not his first race being in the booth, but his first, this is your job now.
Right. First official day on the job. No longer an intern in that one.
Right.
But so we haven't really graded. Yeah, go for it.
I mean, it's got to be an A.
Yeah, solid A effort. Did you, Brandon, actually get to hear any of that, or was it in replay or anything like that?
Yeah, I didn't get to hear it when it happened. I was down. I had my racing electronics headset on, so I was listening to. I think I was listening to Larson's spotter. And their communication along with the MRN broadcast at the time. So I had no idea about the slide job until after that.
Slide job.
That's funny that he did it twice.
But no, I went back and I watched it. I watched the replay on Monday on NBCSN, and then I listened to it at work today while I was working on YouTube. And you got to give the guy an A, just because one, he did a phenomenal job. Two, he gave a call that is going to be remembered forever. It's going to be. I mean, it's not going to be as iconic and there's a fight, but people are going to remember it just like that. So, and I think NBC did a great job of setting him up for success. They put him in positions in that broadcast to really succeed. They put him in Denny Hamlin's car, talking about the bumps in turns 1 and turns 3. They had him talking about the heat in the car and the lines and Kevin Harvick's feet and stuff like that. They just did a really good job of getting him to talk about what he knows, and that's why he's so good.
How many commercials have y'all at least storyboarded so far with that footage?
Oh, well, that is my job for the next year, is to put together our video ads. And
oh, wow.
I haven't gotten the footage back yet to start working with it, but probably we'll go with 88. That sounds like a good number.
That's a perfect number for it.
I see what you did there.
Sherwin, what are they doing here? They're parading the cars. Maybe you can turn your camera around and show everybody. They're parading all the cars. There's Bandoleros, there's Legends, all 3 wide, 4 wide. Doing this salute. That's pretty cool. I don't remember him doing that before.
This is the autograph session.
Oh, okay.
That's why you see all those people coming over.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like
so
what they're doing.
all the kids will get to go down and get autographs.
Oh, that's neato.
Yep.
Oh, good for them.
It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, and they're parking them all 4 wide right in front of us right here, which is, that's really cool to see. I thought the autograph session that they were talking about was afterwards, but, yeah, really cool that they do it right here. We haven't thanked Atlanta Motor Speedway enough, and I don't know if we're allowed to name drop Sherwin, but we have a specific benefactor here who's been very kind to us. So you tell me.
Yeah, I don't know if she's outed herself on Twitter, so we'll just leave her name. To remain silent for now. But yeah, they've been super gracious, and the way it works around here, we just go get a wristband from the security office. And you just drive through the tunnel. You just show your wristband, and the security guy lets you in the tunnel. But because we have some special permissions, we're over here in the press box. But there was nobody to stop us from being here. That's just,
right.
You could have just walk on in, probably.
Maybe we shouldn't say that.
Well, don't do that, people.
It's cool. This
don't do it without permission.
This is great. Fourth period, some good news. Maybe it's sombering, but good news. Sobering might be the funny, ironic, or not ironic, but I don't know, wordplay here, that Spencer Gallagher has been reinstated after completing that road to recovery after his suspension back in May. Sounds like he's going to be back in Kentucky, so that's pretty cool to see that, quote unquote working, whatever it is. What is it? Half the guys, or most of the guys, go in there and they're like, "Hey, what happened? I did this. Okay, well here's the signature or whatever." So, but yeah, it's good to have him back on track and not have to. I guess just that there's no more drama, Sherwin.
Yeah, well, the thing I was really happy to see, or happy is the wrong word, I guess excited to see, is that he came back so quickly. Because I think there was a lot of doom and gloom that his whole season might be done. But remember, we talked about this on the podcast. We're like, I bet he'll be back by August.
Yeah.
But the only reason why he's not going to be in the car full time is because they didn't know when he was going to be released from the program. They have contracts in place with other drivers, presumably guys like Chase Elliott. So he's not going to be in every race, but he's definitely back to racing.
Yep. Going into fifth period, let's talk about Daytona a little bit. What are, and we'll let our guests kick this one off for us, Brandon, what are the chances that we're going to see another B driver, sorry, Austin, but, B marker driver take the checkered here at Daytona, or, run up front or whatever? Or are we going to see more like the Talladega where, Joey pretty much not dominated, but comfortably won that race?
I think you're going to have a better chance at a driver not normally up front winning the race at Daytona than at Talladega, because the racing's tighter. You don't have as much room for those cars to move around at Daytona, and if the 500 is any indication, there's going to be a lot of chaos. So you saw Blaney dominate the 500, got wrecked out. You saw Eric leading with 1 lap to go, got wrecked. So you never know what's going to happen. I think it's good. I think it's good, and not only do I think it's good, I hope it happens, because I'm in any sport. I don't care which sport it is. It could be you see they've been playing bags on ESPN too. If there's an underdog team in there, I root for the underdog.
Yeah.
So I hope a Bubba, a Blaney, Eric, Matt DiBenedetto for any reason, he gets up there and wins the race. I hope that happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Bubba had that second place finish, so totally would be looking forward to that. Sherwin, yeah, it's interesting, and Brandon kind of said it here, that Daytona and Talladega are starting to – I always sort of lumped them together, you know, like, well, there's Daytona, Talladega. There's Daytona, Talladega. And maybe I'm starting to see it, or maybe it's always been this way, and, you know, I'm only seeing it now, but that they're distinguishing themselves, where Talladega is very much the racer's race, and Daytona is the free-for-all craziness.
I would agree with that assessment. I think you're right. I think Talladega is a different race than Daytona, and it's because Daytona's surface is starting to wear. Remember we talked about that earlier? Mm-hmm. We're looking at the oldest surface in NASCAR out here. You know, those cars, you got to drive them, and they're all bunched up.
Yeah, yeah.
At Talladega, you got a lot more room. You can get away from people.
Yeah, a lot harder to pass, I would say. And
yeah, you can stay out front and just block both lines.
Mm-hmm. And I will dare to say, entertaining to watch the blocking stuff in the last few races that we've seen.
I think it's cool to watch somebody dominate a restrictor plate race because it just didn't seem like that was a thing in the past or in the recent past. There's probably a lot of races like that Dale Sr. won.
Sure. So yeah, have you noticed that recently, Brandon, or has that been going on for a while? Or what's your thoughts since you haven't missed a race since '93? What's the story?
Yeah, well, you're right about Dale Sr. dominating a lot of them in the in the '90s. But yeah, like the cars, the cars back in the '90s, you would still see the cream rise to the top. The fast cars would run up front, and then you had some restrictor plate specialists. Remember Jimmy Spencer winning a couple of them in '94. He wheeled that car up there. But yeah, like it's a more of a especially with the lower downforce the past couple years, and with this new aero package that they got this year at Daytona, it was way crazier than you could imagine. And you saw in the the qualifying races, Ricky Stenhouse would put the bumper up on somebody's left rear, and they would just spin out. The cars are so unstable. So you don't know what's going to happen, and back in the day, you kind of knew that Dale Jarrett and Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, and some of those guys would always be up front at the restrictor plate races. Now, towards the end of the race, you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. So that brings us to recess, Sherwin. This is going right back to how hot it was out there. I got to give an A++ to crew chief Drew Blickensderfer, Bubba Wallace's crew chief. Bubba was sort of complaining about how hot it was in the car. I think he was dropping some Nelly lyrics about, it's getting hot in here, all that stuff. But Drew said, hey, man, it's pretty hot down here, too. My ice cream melts in like 4 laps. I love it. Yeah.
Dropping the Days of Thunder reference there.
Barely keep up. Yeah. So good job, Drew, on hitting back on that one, getting the references in.
Yeah, and all that. That's the pass-fail portion of the report card, and that's a pass.
That's a pass for
thumbs
sure.
Up.
Thumbs up on the recess. Did you, Drew? Not Drew. I said Drew. Brandon, did you have your fill of ice cream this weekend?
I had zero ice cream bars, ice cream sandwiches, anything. It was so hot, and I was running around all the time that what did I have? I had something very, very normal, like a ham sandwich that upset my stomach because it was so hot. So I just tried to eat not as little as possible, but just enough. And I didn't eat anything that would make me even questionably sick. So I had water, I had Gatorade, and then I had water and Gatorade. Lather, rinse, repeat.
That's a recipe for hydration. There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
So we got a question from Kathleen McDonald at KHI Fan. I like this one. So from your perspective, what's your secret to dealing with all the we'll call them this is PC here, yeah. The pessimistic, complaining, negative Nancys on social media, as she put it.
Oh man, I think you try. It's a great balance, but I found myself recently taking the Denny Hamlin advice. If you heard what he said in a press conference a couple weeks ago, you just ignore. You just ignore and don't put yourself in a position because I mean, to be honest, there are, with the internet the way it is, people like to talk smack and talk stuff and talk other S words that I won't say right now.
Yep.
But you just have to ignore them, because if you get in a shouting match, you never know if that'll cost you your job if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So you just can't mess with them. You like to have fun with them. If you know somebody's like half kidding or whatever. I mean, like, the Wendy's Twitter account is the king of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes for great marketing and great conversation, and that's what I love to do, is conversate with all these fans, whether they're saying good or bad stuff. But if it's something that's just really ignorant and really off base, you just ignore it, because what can you do about it? You can't do anything about it. And half the time they're just trying to say this stuff. They have no interest in coming to your race. They have no interest in being friendly with you. And there are a lot of people on Twitter on Facebook that do have real actual concerns, like, hey, I can't find my seat, or I couldn't get in the gate, or stuff like that. And you answer them because you are guest services people. But the people that are just trolls, you just leave them on.
You know what? I think you hit a good point there. People who are not even interested in coming to the racetrack, whether it be even as a pipe dream or even as a possible next week for the dirt track or something, just people who are not even interested, and giving them the time of day. I think that's a good point. Like, oh, well, why should we even conversate?
Well, and a lot of them are doing that to troll and try to get people to pay attention to what they're doing. They may not even, they may not even really believe what they've said, and just took it to a really nasty place to try to get some attention. Because as someone who was previously guilty of this, I would, talk to those people. And there's no positive outcome.
Right.
You're not going to convince somebody you don't know on Twitter that they're wrong.
So, speaking of positive outcomes, we'll get out of that ditch and go straight into this one.
I do want to say one more thing.
Oh, go for it. Yep.
That. Is that, if somebody has a legitimate, even if they're mean-spirited, if somebody has a legitimate gripe and they're calling you out on Twitter, I mean, you don't want to say anything back to them, because they might be a season ticket holder with 30 of their buddies for the past 15 years. And no matter if they're mean or nice or whatever, they're our guest, and you don't want to ever say anything bad to them, because, whenever they're on site, they're having a good time and you're treating them right. So, you just try to have as best attitude as you can when it comes to social media, because you never know.
Yeah, that's also a great point too. Whether they're not interested in coming to track or whether they're super season ticket holders, you wish they could have a little badge next to their name so you know who whose opinion is worth listening to.
Yeah, that
would make it easier.
So I've already gassed it up. We're going to Daytona. Coke Zero 400, firecracker, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a Coke Zero Sugar Firecracker 400.
Zero sugar, yeah, that's right. The Coke Zero Sugar, which, strange that the word sugar is in the name. Like, Coke Zero is kind of a noun in itself. It's become, I don't know, I feel like it has.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so the word sugar after it seems like it's Coke Zero with sugar in it, to me. Does anybody else feel that way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like there should be a little plus sign between the zero and the sugar, like it feels like.
Yeah, it almost feels like there is. But they're saying it's Coke Zero Sugar, but we've already had Coke Zero.
Yeah, so why did they need that distinction?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the deal was.
I think they redid it, because it used to be Coke Zero, and now it's Coke Zero Sugar.
Right.
And Coke Zero, to my knowledge, doesn't exist anymore.
Huh. I did not know that.
Yeah. That was the whole branding effort. I don't know. We need to march down to Coke. They're right down over here, and give them a piece of our minds. Anyway, it is Coke Zero Sugar
Coca-Cola
400
building.
Oh man. Sherwin, what are you looking forward to in this race?
It's a good question. I think I'm just ready to watch another race. I don't know of anything specific. Actually, I do kind of agree with Brandon that Daytona, especially the night race in the summer, because it's a hot track and there's going to be moisture in the air. That race tends to generate first-time winners, or winners you're not expecting. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is where Bubba breaks out.
Yep. Brandon, what are you looking forward to?
That right there, I would love, because I've gotten to hang out with Bubba a couple of times, and he's just he's like the guy you see on Twitter. He's like that in person, like for sure. I want to see a first time winner. I'm looking forward to seeing how this kind of redone plate package does at night.
Yep.
We saw a little bit of it in the 150 qualifiers in the duels. But I'm looking for a bunch of new faces and different faces up in the top 10. And I think it's going to happen on Saturday night.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. I think we're all looking forward to the same thing then. Seeing something new, seeing something different, seeing something fun up front. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to not drinking Coke Zero.
Well, it might be in my liquor drink. I don't know.
Well, that's true.
Who knows? With that, time for our picks. And speaking of Dale Jr., here he is.
Drivers, start your engine!
Well, that wasn't very loud, but oh well. we're doing this mobile, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. People forgive us. That's our call to our picks. We'll let our guests go first on this one here. So, give us your pick, Brandon.
I am going to go with that 12 machine of Ryan Blaney. I think with what he showed in the 500, leading 100 laps or whatever it was, and the way that the Penske cars are always good on restrictor plates, I think he gets it done. But again, he could also get wrecked out on lap 12 too.
Mm-hmm. Sherwin.
But that's my pick. Ryan Blaney.
I'm going to stay in the same family of drivers. I can't believe we've made it to race, 17, and Brad hasn't won yet?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going with Brad.
Yeah.
I know I've picked him a bunch, but...
Yeah. I'm going for swinging for the fence here. You see, I've got the SHR up, and I'm going with Eric Almirola.
That's a good pick.
As a first time or that B driver winner. But look how much progress he has made in that 10 car and this year so far. I think this would be a perfect cap onto that progress and really show, hey, SHR's got 4 winning cars now.
Well, not only that.
I don't know if Kurt Busch won this year, but he's a winning driver for sure.
Almirola's win was at Daytona in the night race.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And I think it was rain shortened. But
okay. I was like, well, that's not as unique a pick then if he's already won there, and I forgot. But oh well.
But it was in much less equipment.
Yeah.
It was the old 43 that was probably not even as good a car as the one that Bubba's got.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, there we go.
He pushed that thing out to the front, and then it poured, and that was all she wrote. But he's got two Xfinity Series wins in the '98 car for Biaggi Racing. So the guy's a great plate racer, and I think I might want to change my pick now that I heard you pick Eric.
Well, look at me go.
Yeah. Well, one thing's for sure, we all picked Fords.
Yes, that's an interesting stat. I don't know. I mean, we had the Chevy that won it that won the 500.
Yeah.
But I think that's as fluke a thing as anything that we see in Daytona. So I think people recognize that. So we'll see what happens there. With that, it's time for Strange with Stang. Actually, Jay Stang sends us an off the wall question every week, and so this one. Sherwin, I might have to get you to start here and get this conversation going. She says, what animal do you think would be the rudest sounding if it could talk?
That's a great question. I would think it would be that, that Napoleon complex thing, like an animal that's like real tough, but it's real small. They got to be like very protective of their territory.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the honey badger.
The honey badger. Okay. It would be the most.
That's a rude dude right there.
Be the rudest one. I'm trying to. I'm not sure. Brandon, how about you go? And I'll see.
I'm just going to go with the first thing that popped into my mind, and I'm going to say an ostrich.
An ostrich.
Yeah,
because
just be rude. Get out of my
very
way.
animated. It's got the long neck. Could probably reach out and bite you if it had half a chance, and it would. Probably squeal in your face if it had the chance to. So I'm just going to say ostrich.
You know what's funny? I'm sitting here thinking, like, one of one of the nicest ones is probably like a snake, something that everybody's afraid of. He's just probably like, "Hey guys, what's up?" He's chilling. He doesn't need your help. He doesn't need nothing. He's just cool. Rudest animal. I think if you get the right cat, I mean, they're already rude in some case, and I love cats now, but but you get yourself a rude cat, and I think the way I've already personified some of the cats that have been in my life.
The one that jumps up on the table and then just knocks something over.
Yeah, just knocks it over. You're like, what the hell? And if they could talk, they'd be like, what?
They'd be just shooting you the bird.
Right.
What are you going to do about it?
So we've already seen that one. What do we have?
Blue jay's a pretty rude animal already.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're pretty rude. They lay their eggs in other people's nests.
Oh,
and
man.
Don't take care of their kids.
They don't take care of their kids. You got to take care of your kids. Oh, that's funny. Thank you, Ashley, as always, for the question. With that, I guess, Sherwin, it's time to shut her down here.
We whooped up a pretty quick one this time.
Yeah. We're
what happens when we don't drink?
We're both we're not long-winded today, but we're also anxious to get back down on the track. Y'all look out for pictures and stuff coming out from the track. Brandon, why don't you tell the folks? First off, thank you so much for being on. This has been fun as always. Really enjoy it, and tell the folks where they can find you. What's coming up next?
Oh, geez, what's coming up next here? Well, we got our NASCAR dates back at the same date, so you can look for us. You can look for your renewal in the mail coming within the next month or so. So we hope to see you back next year, June 27th through 30th. We're planning on still having the 4 races at Chicagoland Speedway, and I think now with the new date, people are going to be used to it, and hopefully we're going to see an even bigger crowd this year. We had a real passionate crowd this year. We want to see a really huge one next year. So, and you can find all that information here in the next month or so at ChicagolandSpeedway.com, which I also run the website. So if you see any mistakes on there, I made them.
And we'll be looking forward to seeing the runs of the commercials and everything else as you go.
Oh, it's going to be. We've got a great plan in place with some awesome video content. We've worked really closely with NBC and MRN and. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and we're going to have a lot of fun on social media this coming year. And check us out at Route 66 Raceway, too, if you're into drag racing. And if you're not into drag racing, you should be because it's awesome.
Well,
check this out real quick before we close. So I didn't realize this was coming so quickly, but Toyota is bringing Supra to the Xfinity Series, and they unveiled what it looks like, and it looks pretty cool.
Oh, that does look neat. Huh. I like that.
I did not see that. I'm going to have to check that out.
It looks like
DIS updates.
Yeah, DIS updates has posted a picture. Oh yeah, that's pretty.
Well,
that's sexy.
Yeah,
it's
a good looking car.
Let's check the old Twitter machine here, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Beep
on
up, boop boop beep. DIS
Google the computer
updates. There it is. Oh, you follow each other. They follow the podcast.
Yes, actually,
that's cool of them.
Might be easier.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah,
that's something else.
Super.
That looks like one of those cars you can find on Gran Turismo.
I was thinking the same thing. It looks like they have painted it at least in a way to make it look like those fenders are, sticking way up out of the wheel well sticks way up almost.
Yes.
Kind of I don't know, optical illusion thing there.
And
it's
a good job
cool.
of creating depth where there's not.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And the headlights.
Real slick, real clean. I think it looks pretty sexy.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, Sherwin, with that, once again, thank you for Brandon. Thank you for Chicagoland Speedway coming on with us tonight. And Sherwin, we're taking a little bit of a hiatus now, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
So I'm going on vacation for like 2 weeks. Sherwin, just follow the podcast handle. He's probably he's not going to stop. He'll be around. Somebody
I'll convince somebody to let me talk.
Somebody, if you're listening on and you do a NASCAR podcast, we've got a host for the next couple weeks for you. But with that, y'all know where to find us. PETMpodcast.com, at PETM Podcast, et cetera, et cetera. And as always, I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace at Tailgate Mayor.
And I'm pregame engineer at pregame engineer Andrew Sherwin.
And we will talk to y'all in about 3 weeks from now. But looking forward to it, Sherwin. I know I'm going to miss it.
Well, we usually always have to take a little bit of a break in the summertime for vacations and whatnot.
Yep. So, all right,
You
y'all.
there?
See y'all next time.
Thanks again, Brandon.
And we're clear. Brandon, we are still recording on YouTube. We're live on that, but we are the recorded portion of the podcast is over. Well, I guess YouTube still records it and keeps it, but
the audio version.
The audio version is complete. Thanks again
Gotcha.
for being on. We we're kind of out of our element here, so it's like it was shorter than normal and probably less rambunctious as we usually are.
Yeah.
As we're trying
man.
to, be respectful of everybody around us and everything too. Did we drive them out? I think the folks next to us ran away.
They're probably taking a break because the races they cover aren't until like they're just starting the races now.
Yeah. So we're looking
I
forward
think
to
they
that.
come back from the break, and the first thing they do is set the order for the pro division. The pro's going to qualify.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll get to see that right here while we're doing the technology stuff, and then we'll get on down there. Brandon,
Sounds like fun. I wish I could join you guys to watch some racing tonight.
same. Yeah, it's a really cool deal that they do every Thursday here at in the summer.
Yeah, they
at
got a
AMS.
10-week championship season. They're actually running – it got wet last week, so they're running 2 nights' worth of races in some of the divisions. So
Yeah.
we're getting to see a much bigger race card than normal.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So
That's
it's gonna
cool.
be fun.
We'd probably. I mean, we could build the infield course, but we've got the drag. We've got one staff for 2 racetracks, so we do our local drag racing series over at the drag strip, and that kind of serves as our local racers over the summer.
Yeah, as you're saying drag, and I'm looking down because they do Friday night drags here in the summer,
Yep.
and there's
There's a lot of
rubber from the entrance to turn 4 all the way to the start-finish line.
Yeah.
I bet you are. They got the rubber laid down and they got the VHT down. Do they do no prep down there? Or do they prep it with stuff? Do you know?
I really don't know. I've never been.
We got to come down at some point. Although, I mean, look how skinny those lanes are too.
And there's no barrier between them.
And there's no barrier. Yeah, yeah.
So it's a little bit cowboyish.
It's bumping and banging all the way down in the drag
Right.
race. Oh, that'd be silly. Well, I'm gonna have to find me a hot dog or something.
Or something.
Yeah. As soon as I get out of the office, I might find me a hot dog and a beer.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. Next time, anytime you guys want to have me on, I will. If my schedule allows, I will gladly come and talk racing with you guys because, like I said, I've watched, and I'm not bullshitting you one bit. I watched every NASCAR race since 1993. If I didn't catch it live or was attending it, I watched it after the fact.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's neato. What passion. I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I set out to do. I have a degree in broadcasting from West Virginia, so I wanted to be Ken Squire. That was my
Yeah.
my dream. So I kind of got led down the with social media becoming more important and me being able to talk racing and be good with cameras, pictures, all this stuff. It just kind of fit. So they hired me, and I'm still around. So I guess they're happy with me.
That's what I say at my job. Well, they hired me, and I'm still around. I guess I'll just keep doing it. So, all right, man. We'll let you run. We'll get watching us some races. So thanks again for being on, and we'll definitely we'll hook it up, Sherwin. Do it again sometime, and have you when we're in our element and everything else. And it'll be a good time. Love talking racing.
I'll bring a 6-pack of Miller Lights and we're a Miller Light track, so I'll stay on brand and I'll drink with you guys.
My man.
All right, sounds good.
I'm digging it. All right, brother. We'll catch you later. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
See you around. Bye.
See you.
Cool dude.
Yep.
He's cool as the other side of the pillow. We're going to go ahead and stop the stream too, y'all. we got cars on the track, so I got to upload this episode, get her going, and then we'll be down on the track watching this race. So we will see y'all later. Oh, I didn't change it. Oh well, I usually change it. Oops, I usually change the other one or whatever. So anyway, stopping. See ya.